Hello, hello, everyone. Happy Thursday. We'll give everyone a moment to kind of jump in and join us for tonight's class. So hopefully you guys are all having a good day so far. It's a good autumn day. The leaves are falling like crazy outside. It's actually a mess. They keep tracking into my house right now. Anyways, welcome, welcome. Just to make sure that everyone's familiar with Zoom here, you can, of course, connect and chat in the chat feature here. I'll say hi so that it pops up for everyone, hopefully. And then if you have a comment, feel free to unmute yourself and join in. If you have a lot of background noise, then just mute yourself when you have that background noise, but you also don't feel like you can't, say hi or ask questions or any of that stuff. So feel free to ask away whenever you have questions. All right. Hello, Becky. Thanks for saying hi. Okay, so just admitting a couple more people jumping in. And while I do that, I'm going to do some house cleaning, I guess, as far as what supplies we're going to need for this class, what we're going to be going over if you're creating along with me. Let me get to my hands here. All right. So as far as we're going to be using, as far as products, we're going to be using this Home Sweet Home. So if you have this kit, pull it out. If you're creating with this specific paper, if you're creating, of course, even with some other paper that you have, awesome as well. We're going to be using the designer templates homemade that do come in this kit. Plus, we're going to be using the Sunnybrook border set is the one that I'll be using. The Love at Home a la carte, and also the Hallmark a la carte. All right. And what we're going to do is I'm going to actually create this first layout with you guys, and we're just going to go through the process and just hang out with each other and get a little bit of creating time in, right? Gwen, you can't see my desk. Can nobody see my desk when I talked right there? Here, let's try that again then. Remove spotlight. How about now? We good? You can see my hands?
Yes, I can see it now.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so yes, we're gonna create this first layout, and then I'll probably just send you guys a link on that second layout, because the class is a little later. But this is our second class of this class, so this is the second date of our class. And so we'll kind of go through that, and then you can kind of push pause and create as you want as you go along following that link. So I'll make sure to share that with all of you guys so that we have that here at the end. But it's a really fun kit. It's really fun and super fun to create with it as well. So everyone good on the supplies other than the designer templates and the paper? Of course, you just need your basic tools to kind of finish the layout with. We're going to use ink dauber, scissors, and paper trimmer and a pencil. So that is all we kind of need in reference to tools and supplies. All right. I think for the most part, a lot of you guys jumped in, so we'll kind of start, and I'll try to keep an eye as we go along if other people jump in. Okay, so let's start playing to create here. So I'm going to open up this kit, get a look at, of course, the beautiful patterns in this kit and just the fun fall vibe that it has. It's got a fall vibe, I guess I should say, but at the same time, it's just overall just got that homey warmth to it. So I guess I wouldn't say that it has to be fall. Even I guess I'm in the fall mood, but it's not technically have to be fall. There are some Thanksgiving titles in there, of course. So if you want to incorporate those, and we'll go over that. But ultimately, it could just be really good moments of family connecting, whether that's like a family reunion, family pictures. So lots of fun ways that you can, of course, document your memories with this kit and with the layouts that we're going to be creating with it. All right. So to start off, I'm going to go ahead and keep all my kind of thing organized. So if you haven't yet opened up your kit, let's go ahead and do that. And just kind of get a look at this. I love this flower pattern. It's so cute. I just love it. And of course, these houses are a lot of fun. We got this really cute plaid in here that's going to layer beautifully as a supporting pattern to any one of these main patterns. Look how cute that layers with those. And we also have, of course, some blenders and other supportings. And then in there, you should have 2 sets of background sheets. And so there are 2 of the same, allowing you to have the option to do 2-page layout. And we're going to personally be using this burgundy one. So go ahead and grab those 2 sheets and find those. And that's going to be the background canvas that we're going to start to play on top of as we create our layout here. And then I usually just find my background sheets and I put everything else to the side for a moment so that it's not so crowded in your area, right? And if you're new to Kiwi Line, let me know in the comments so that I can address any of your questions as we go along. And or if this is your first time using a Kiwi Club kit, let me know as well. Because here on the back, just make sure everybody knows, because they're really great to download. There's this free digital idea book that just shows more ideas, more inspiration for you to access using, of course, these designer templates in this kit, but you know, lots of fun ways that you can play around with different designs and mix different designer templates together with these items that come in this kit. Okay, so everyone's got your background. We're set, we're golden. Okay, so to start off with, I always start with the borders. Pretty much always, it's kind of like the same little process, creating process here, and it works. So it always kind of helps to get going here. So we're going to pull out Sunnybrook 2A, 2B. So that's Sunnybrook 2A, 2B here. And you can put 2A on one side and 2B on the other. It doesn't matter. In this case, we are doing them across from each other here at the top. So I want to make sure that those edges line up, and with 2A on the left and 2B on the right, you'll get this nice continual wave across the 2-page layout. Okay. All right. And while you have Sunnybrook out, let's go ahead and pull Sunnybrook 1A, 1B out as well. And we're going to place that down at the bottom and do the same type of design, layout design here. We're just going to do across from each other. And oh, so 1B is actually, for this one, 1B is on the left and 1A is on the right. So it just happens to be, that's kind of how it works on this one. So 1B on the left and 1A on the right. All right. Okay, so our borders are set. And so now we're going to go ahead and grab some of our accessories. So there's the hallmark, the homemade tag here, because each of them have their different names. What I love about this is it does create a really fun place that you can build a nice title off of, or you know, you can add little photos. I'm just showing you variations, but like you can have a fun photo and build your photo off. But in this layout, we're going to put it down at the bottom of our layout, and we're going to tuck our photos into it. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So let me quickly pull some photo mats out of here. So for example, if you have your photo mat templates, you want to complete that visual here, a 4.5 by 4.5 photo mat here, and a 4.5 by 5.5. So it's just kind of fun tucking that out, kind of that foundational design element that we have going on. Then on top of that, you're going to go ahead and add the hallmark and the home to, or love at home. So again, really building this nice focal point to kind of set the tone of the page. All right. So we're not going to be using the Sunnybrook 2A, 2B on this one. The next layout we did, and again, I'll send you guys that link. So we'll use all of those pieces in Sunnybrook on these 2 pages layouts, but not on this one. All right, so that is the left side of our layout. We're all doing good. Now, as far as the right side goes, so here's kind of a visual of that. I used 2 3.5 by 4.5 photo mat. So if you're gonna plan on matting your pictures, those are the sizes there. And then 1 4.5 by 6.5 photo. There. And then pull up this adorable teapot. It's so cute. And as far as the title card goes, a lot of times when I'm in this designing phase, I don't necessarily, I actually use my photos in place of. I don't always pull in the title cards. Sometimes I do, but I just kind of make a mental note saying, okay, what if I put title cards here? And really, it can be another place for a photo holder if you prefer that. But for the sake of the design, I'm just going to put a 3x4 photo there, and it's going to hold my place for a title. Well, in this case, a journal card is what I'm using that for from this kit. Okay, so that is our complete layout here, right? And so we have this kind of visual blueprint that we can work from at this point. We're just going to take this visual blueprint and start tracing, cutting, and inking and replacing. So Becky, can you see the bottom of the page now? Sorry, I just saw your comment. I was trying to pull that up. Hopefully you can see it now on that. Okay. Okay, so Pamela, yes, I'll send that link here. Let me grab that for you guys while you mentioned it. Just so that you have it in your access there. I just put it in the comments. And I'll post it again here in a little bit. But for the most part, let's start something from start to finish so that we can feel that accomplishment tonight, right? All right, so again, I go straight back to my borders, and usually why I pick my borders to start with, even when I'm designing, when you're in that play phase, it's really about the merging and just the playing, really allowing fluid and freedom to play, and where needed, pulling in some accessories or something, and playing with that to see what visually you're attracted to. Why I go to my borders for starts when I go to trace out my paper is because it really starts to the design coming into the creation phase. Go ahead and pull out this flower pattern that you see. Go ahead and find that sheet and let's pull that out. Lori, on the left side, I have a 4.5 by 4.5 photo mat and a 4.5 by 5.5 photo mat on that side. Okay, so we're looking for this adorable flower pattern, and this is the pattern we'll cut our 2A, 2B borders out of on that. Okay, you bet. All right, so as long as you have that out, then we're going to basically trace our borders out together. We're going to pick up 2A, bring it up on the edge of your 12 by 12 here. And then go ahead and grab the other one. Well, first we'll make a trace. We'll just go ahead and trace that line. And then take your other one, line it up, make a mark. And I just simply make a mark. I don't do a straight line all the way down. I just need a guiding point to help me. Then grab your paper trimmer. And we'll do a straight cut where we made that noted that mark at. Okay. All right. Now one cut up that middle, it of course will give us. So if you're familiar with Huey Lane, then you kind of know how the borders work. If you're not, definitely nice to be able to take those borders and middle, and then it gives you two borders that you're kind of getting that instant balance look of your patterns as well. So you're balancing those patterns across your page on that. So pretty simple on that. And then of course, you can ink it as you go along. So you just simply take a little bit of ink and ink those edges, allowing any of those pencil marks to be hidden, covered basically, and or if you have any blemishes on it as well. So overall, just kind of finishing up those edges with a nice final finish look. And in this case, I do recommend inking the top of the border as well, since this will just be right at the edge on this, like so. Okay. So it's been a really fun month, and I'm just going to go ahead and ink the other one, so you guys can feel free inking those as well really quickly. Of classes, so hopefully you enjoyed them. It's been really fun. We've had quite a bit this month, it feels like. Well, I guess the Halloween album was towards the end of Halloween or October. Boy, November's going by fast. We've had two different scrapbooking ones with these adorable layout kits. The gratitude album one, the mini album, that was last week. I don't know if any of you guys took that class or created one of those. That was super fun. It was a longer class. The mini albums usually take a little bit longer to create, but for the most part, we were able to finish that from start to finish. And that's always a good thing, getting to a point where you can kind of create and finish it from start to finish. And then we have one more, and I can't believe that next week is Thanksgiving. It just blows my mind. Just crazy. I keep having to remind myself as if I'm going to forget that next week is Thanksgiving and I need to do some planning. So, all right, to give everyone a moment to do that. Now the second border, we're going to trace that out of the adorable plaid that's inside of this kit. So go ahead and look for this sheet of paper. It's got the plaid on one side and almost this taupe color pattern on the other side. So plaid on one side and taupe on the other. All right. And then I'm going to go ahead and we're going to trace the other border, the 1A, 1B here at the bottom. So go ahead and slide those out from underneath your design. And then we're going to trace those out the same way we just traced out the other border. Just line it up on your edge here. Trace. This one has a little bit more movement, but still pretty simple to follow along there. And then just make a mark. That's where we'll do a straight cut. So I definitely love the thing about the borders. Not only can you get two borders out of that one trace and cut, which help with that pattern, cohesiveness, but it's also very efficient use of your paper. So really allowing you to get a lot of use out of just one 12 by 12 paper and really allowing those patterns in these papers that we fall in love with to really hold up to its potential as far as the design, but also what you can use it for as far as the usage. So we're just going to follow that line and cut it once up the middle. So you can kind of do quick shortcuts, but you'll notice, of course, just slowing it down just a little bit more to accommodate for the little bit more movements in this case. And so kind of just guiding that through. Slowing down around the curves is usually pretty normal. And then go ahead and ink those edges. Like so. Ink looks really pretty on this plaid. I don't know, maybe it's something to do with the mint color and the ink. It's just something really satisfying about that combination on that. So the same thing, we didn't add a strip. You could, of course, is another technique, is just going to add a strip if you want, but I didn't. I just inked the top, and then you don't always have to have strips to kind of finish those off. I keep pulling that dauber out, and it's getting to a well-used state. So I need to really hide that one or something, because it keeps putting little flakes on my stuff. There we go. Let's grab a new one. All right. Now, if you prefer not to ink your elements, I know sometimes people are like, I just don't like to ink, or whether that's a style preference or whatever, that's completely up to you. I definitely love to ink the edges. And a part of that step process of design trace and then ink replace on those. For all of the reasons I'm sure you guys have heard me share, for the blemishes, the pencil lines, the contrast between layers and patterns, more of that kind of gives it more of a substantial finish, like it just feels more of that quality finish for me sometimes too. So, all right. Borders done. We did the borders. If I'm going too fast, seems like I can do that sometimes. Just let me know, and I can kind of give you a moment. So just go ahead and if you want to ink those, again, you can ink at the end. You don't have to do all of them inking at the same time. You can just get all the pieces cut out and then just go wrap, like circle back around and ink all those elements and then adhere it at that point, pretty much. So if that's how you prefer, or if you're like, you know what, I'm just gonna ink at the end, that works too. So. Yes, Lori, sorry, I just saw your comment too. I'll try to pay attention to those. The mini album was a lot of fun. It was super fun. I know, even when I was creating it again, even though it was, of course, the second one I was creating, I was like, man, I really want to do one of these for like, well, my niece is getting married. So I thought about doing like a wedding one for her, and more pastels and whites and just more of like a very classy look. And that kept running through my mind the whole time. I was like, okay, so what patterns would I use on the next one? So while I was creating one, I was thinking about the next one I wanted to create before I even finished the one that we were creating. I don't know if you guys ever done that before. All right, so now as far as the accessories go, I mean, really you could pick one and kind of move through it. In this case, we'll start with the bottom layers. And so go ahead and pull out the plaid paper. Again, we're going to use that pattern that's on the back of this one. And that's what we're going to cut this big tag out of on this. You can kind of just place those down and then pick this one up. So again, just kind of starting with that bottom layer is often kind of what I do. And then lay it on the edge, close to the edge, again, being really mindful of your paper and efficient use. And so we're going to go ahead and trace that out. And that. Yeah, the next class, Lori, for sure. You can kind of see I'm doing a double edge on that since it is more of a taupe color. So sometimes I kind of rub it a little harder. Sometimes, depending on the color, you don't have to rub it so hard. So it just depends on that. And then even with the bigger design elements, you can kind of follow this outside edge if you want, but really my goal here is to detach it from that bigger sheet of paper. Okay, so detach it, place your piece that you don't need over back in your stash of paper, and then you can cut out the rest of the details. And of course, whenever I see these straight edge clips, I kind of go into more of a clipping mode where instead of continuing my cut, I just snip in and then snip in the other way. I just kind of go into that kind of cutting technique there. And then with these ones, just some quick shortcuts and keeping that cut going. And throw away any of that excess. And then snip in and snip in on the other side. Like so. I'll give you guys a minute and I'll go ahead and ink those, or mine. And if you prefer, even sometimes with these, I know I do this a lot with my mat, but you can even take your ink pad. That's another way, of course. It definitely creates a darker edge than more of a soft edge than the dauber does. The dauber is really handy for getting inside of cracks or crannies. So when it comes to more of those waves or accessories, it's kind of why I use the dauber myself. There's a lot of options as far as inking preference goes on those things. I think any type of ink really just, again, helps with the, not just the pencil line, but yeah, the blemishes, all the above, as I stated. All right. So I kind of always, when I get a piece cut out, I always like to step back for a moment, not literally, but kind of mentally, and just kind of place it down and see it start forming and creating right in front of your eyes, you know. It's all creating is just one step after the other until you finish something. So you go from start and you take one step, and you just keep moving until it's finished, and then you start again on the next creation as you progress in your own creation journey. All right, now, as far as these two other elements, we're actually going to cut the hallmark out of one of the title cards. So go ahead and pull out the title cards on these. Okay, and we only need to look for the 4x6 sizes. So we can go ahead and set these to the side so we're not kind of juggling with them on those. And on this layout, let me go ahead and give you a look so that you can kind of see and judge for yourself which one you prefer in your design. So on this layout, I have two versions here to show you guys. So here on this one, I used the journal title card, which says, "At the heart of every family tradition is a meaningful experience." So if that's something that kind of will work for maybe your vision for this layout creation. But this one also, I wanted to share that one, is also a great option. And it says, "Our home where memories are made, tears are shed, life is felt, and refuge is found. You belong here." And that's what, so this one looks like that. So kind of seeing what that will look like. So there's that one or that style. So it's just kind of a preference there, whatever one you prefer. on that. Okay. All right. And if you choose to do the title one over here, when we come over here, I might suggest that you not do a title card here because you have an opportunity to add some little story or a title or details. So I'll kind of point that out again to remind you based off of your option or choice that you chose to do on that side. So the templates are clear. So this is where they really work and play friendly, of course, with maybe pulling out these details to add to your layout in your design, or like stamping or techniques like that. Or of course, in reference to the photos, if you're not familiar with those same kind of process, you can kind of see through them, right? So really utilizing the templates, not only as a designing tool and a template, but also as a cropping tool to help you kind of crop down different designs to add to your creation here. So once you kind of have that lined up and situated the way that you want it to be, we're just going to simply hold that down as you trace along those edges. Like so. You can place that template then to the side, and we're going to replace it with this piece that we're going to cut out. So you're just going to start that cut. And I just kind of guide through that design. And especially with these more accessories, it's really nice to do some quick shortcuts as you kind of glide that through. Of course, with my left hand, you can kind of see me moving it back and forth. But my cutting hand, for the most part, is staying stationed. So I'm not going like this and then like this, right? My cutting hand is staying stationed as I rotate kind of that through my scissors, kind of feeding it through my scissors here. Like so. Perfect. So again, you can choose to ink those edges. If maybe I'm cutting too fast for you, then maybe you'll just be like, okay, I'm going to just ink all my elements at the end. But hopefully for the most part, I'm not going too fast. But if I am, you guys tell me. And like I said, I'll kind of chat, but I'll kind of pause between each step to just give us a moment to move on to the next step. But for the most part, go ahead and pick that 4x6 card out, place the Hallmark Olive card on top of it, trace out the design, and then cut it out and ink the edges. So trace, cut, ink, and replace. Paula says she uses a white chalk pencil or darker paper on darker papers. Yes, absolutely. That is super handful. I actually have them here in my little thing that I stick here, which is always there. I stick my scissors in it and I stick my pencils, and it's always sitting on my table. But unfortunate sometimes then it's really easy access for my kids to find them too. So I guess sometimes my scissors disappear or even my pencils disappear, which is always surprising to me because I'm like, you guys have your own pencils. Why do you keep coming and stealing mine? But they've actually been really good lately. So I guess I'll give them credit. Maybe I mentioned it so much over the last 20 years that now that was the trick. I don't have to mention it anymore. Who knows? Who knows? All right, so I love tracing out this house. It's so much fun. Every time I trace one out, I always kind of want to do it a little bit different, or how you decorate it, completely up to you. So We're actually going to trace out the base of the house out of the polka dot pattern, which has this polka dot and, like, you know, it's a teal with white, but on the back it has orange, like a scallop design, right? So you can kind of see that. There we go. So go ahead and look for that piece, and that's what we're going to do the base of this house in. And I'll kind of share with you how you can add little top layers and things like that as we go along. But to start with, let's go ahead and just focus on tracing one of these out. And of this pattern. And so keeping it again to the edge of your 12 by 12 sheet will allow you to have more options with what you might need to use the rest of the paper on. But for the most part, the embellishments don't take too much paper. So again, really a lot of use even out of 12 by 12 on that. Of course, never fun to cut out of a full 12 by 12 sheet of paper. So go ahead and detach it. And then we'll just kind of go into kind of that clipping mode I was saying, where I kind of clip one of the lines and then I snip in on the next one and then go back to this straight line. So really kind of going back to more of that clipping, cutting thing. So you'll see here, I just kind of cut around that chimney. And then I'll just go back and snip those little indents out. So just doing some straight cuts works best, I think, for this design instead of the quick shortcuts that I was mentioning earlier. Go back and clip that detail out of it as well. Okay. You can choose to kind of ink that, since we're going to be covering that top part, kind of adding different textures and patterns to this little embellishment, kind of, again, creating our own little embellishments using our paper stash here. And quick, easy ones too, you know, it's not like you have to figure out the sizing or adjust, you know, any type of needles or anything like that. Just simply sitting down and kind of getting lost in that process. As far as the top goes, I used, let me find that paper that I used here. I used a title card. Let me remember. That's right. Okay. So this one, where you focus on the good gets better here on this one. So I'll give you a moment to kind of find that card. And I really loved the pattern that was on the back. So these title cards are super cute. You have plenty to choose from as far as the sentiments. But if the sentiments don't work, of course, for your current projects or needs, then definitely flip it over and take advantage of the double side on the back. So in this case, I really wanted to use this pattern because I thought it was a nice contrast here. So you don't really have to sacrifice the whole card for this need right now. We're just going to trace the top of it. So we're going to flip it over and trace that top part out of it, but it'll keep your words part intact. So making sure that the words are towards the bottom, flip it over, and then hold up the house right where those roof edges meet the edge of your paper. And then we'll just trim out only that top section to add a new pattern to our roof. How cute would it be if all of our housetop roofs were a certain pattern? I don't know. Wouldn't it be cute? You're like, I would like a polka dot, a blue and white polka dot rooftop, please. It would be cute. I think mine would probably be polka dots or plaid rooftop on my house. That'd be fun. Who knows? Maybe one day. All right, and then you're just gonna trim out that one little piece, of course, but you should have those words still if you choose to use it, but why not kind of plan like you are until you're not, kind of thing. But you still can take advantage of a little bit of that, this cute green pattern. And I think it also helps kind of pull that in a little bit more from the plaid. And snapping that out. If you have pop-up, this roof popped up on top of the house would be a good place to add a little pop-up, I think, in that. Go ahead and ink those edges. Usually when I snip, it gets a little bit more more raw edges, and so that's really where you can tell the difference of inking makes when you kind of smooth a little bit of ink over those. It really softens those cut marks as well. And I think the other benefit sometimes when you're doing this with maybe different designs of adding a little pop-up is even if the edges don't meet like 100%, by adding a little pop-up on that top layer, kind of just gives it more intentionally a 3D kind of effect, allowing that secondary base color, if it shines through a little bit or you see it over kind of the edges because it's not 100%. I think it just gives it almost that shadow effect, right? On that. Now we could spend a lot of time just on little fun details. And if you love little details, then really going to town on adding little details to more of your accessory pieces can be a lot of fun. So if you want to, so this one, for example, you should cut little squares and now add little windows and a door, and or you could simply just take the accessory, where I put it, and you could do this really adorable heart and just cut that out and add it to your layout too. Let me show you kind of what that looks like here. So give you guys kind of a minute to just play around with your house, and or if you want to come back at the end and add details, then that's really fun. But you know, just exploring the different ways that you can create with that is always fun. So as far as this little heart, the pattern that I used for that is on the back of the polka dot pattern. So we had this like brighter red, orange, burnt orange, whatever you want to call it. And so you could just take one of these hearts and just trace it out of this paper. And still have enough, of course, for our other layout with this kit. So we're kind of cutting accordingly. Or if you prefer more of the window look, I think on that one, I ended up just taking scraps from this and using just a little bit of this cream paper. So we're going to actually use this card, just jumping ahead really fast so you can not just get cut happy. We're going to cut it these little rolling pins. They fit perfectly for this kit inside of that. And that's kind of why they're created that way. But you can see here on the left edge, you have plenty to cut off, say, little 1/2 inch strip to create some squared windows and a rectangle door. So if that's something you kind of want to do, you can definitely plan on that with that card. And if you love just the kind of heart, I'm trying to think what a little heart. So this is heart, maybe you can even put a little heart on your window if you prefer. It looks like a little face if you do it that way. Little window eyes, and then it's cute either way. Even a heart here could be really cute. On the rooftop, centered is also cute. If you like the windows and the heart, you could do both. But it's really cute just with a little touch of that there and on that. Okay. And if you want to pop up your heart, again, I think just because it's on that top layer, it's a good place to add a little bit of pop up. How are we doing? Is everyone, am I going too fast? I know with other classes I did, so I think in my mind I keep asking because I just want to make sure that I'm not paying attention to anyone's needs here. All right. So another fun thing, even with the house, you could cut little, I didn't do it with this one, but if you wanted to cut little shutters, kind of like if you went to the haunted house mini album class, that one with that haunted house, we did that, where you just add little shutters to the sides of your windows, and you can choose any little clippings or anything like that. You would just cut little, there we go, little sides to put little patterned shutters. Not only do we need patterned rooftops, but maybe we need patterned shutters on our houses as well. Will look like fun community from, like, I don't know, a book or something. I'm gonna have to invent patterned shutters. I kind of like patterned shutters more than patterned rooftops, but maybe I'm just, I don't know. Patterns, I love patterns. They're so happy and so much fun, which is why I love fabric and paper and all the above. Okay, so do we have our 2 pieces as far as the left goes, as far as accessorizing that? Okay. To kind of cut out our right side accessories. So we're going to cut out the teapots, a rolling pin here. I put my rolling pin back in my tray. And yeah, and so that's really cute. Okay, so what I do with my rolling pin, I just pulled it out to show you guys, and now I'm like, where did it go? So the rolling pin is that sheet that I just shared with you. So this one, right? And on the layout, I did just the general family one. You could choose to do fresh baked if you are planning on using this page, maybe in something reference to that. Home or gathered. You could choose what you want your rolling pin to be cut out of on that. Maybe it's helpful to also decide what this title card option is going to be here. So looking at our 4x6 options, You could definitely do, again, if you did the title card over here on this one, you might want to choose more of a sentiment card, which any of these 4x6s really would work. If you want to do a title card over here, those two would work. So for example, and the reason why I'm pointing that out is because it might determine, you know, if you want to do your rolling pin out of something else. So on this one, I never want to stop making memories with you. And again, more of that family-centric vibe here. And on that one, then on this one was the journal card. So just depending on, again, on that left, if you want 2 places for journaling, and if you love journaling, then the more the merrier for sure. And or the other one. So kind of deciding on that and then taking the rolling pin and there it is. And tracing out your other piece as well. And that will kind of do both of those pieces. So I'm going to do the home one on this one. Because again, over on my left, I traced out not the journaling one, so I'm going to do that one. And maybe the home one on this one, since it talks about home. And I'll just line that up over the word that you decided on. And then you just trace that rolling pin out of that specific section of the title card. Like so. Okay, kind of trim that out of that sheet and then cut little details out. This design, I think you can kind of keep your motion going. It has kind of a round corner. And so just kind of gliding that as you feed it through your scissors and just doing some slow cuts, especially around the handles. And then going back through the other way. Perfect. Sometimes when I get in that cutting, my mind just goes into like the zone, which is so good. It just forgets about everything else and it just focuses on it, which is why creating is often commented as a therapeutic, because it really does allow you to just forget other things in life and just focus kind of what you're doing, which is hard sometimes to let your mind rest. And so that's the beauty of that creative flow state in the process of creating that happens, because it truly allows you just to step back from life for a moment, still allow your subconscious to consciously process whatever might be going on, but your conscious mindset is focusing on this creation right now. And life for sure has a way, I think, for all of us to have moments of just nonstop, right? So getting this kind of space and freedom to make time to do these things that we enjoy is super beneficial, super, super beneficial. All right. So same thing with the pinwheel. I think that it's a really good place to add a little simple pop-up. It's always a simple thing, but it's a very much a go-to for me. So always looking, just not popping up everything, but just sometimes between those layers, if you have these little clusters of places on your page design, choosing at least one of them or whatever those designs may be to kind of layer up here on this. Okay, guys, we are like speeding through this so fast. So that's awesome. We're barely an hour in and we're pretty much down to the last little embellishment here and cutting out our photo mats. So it's a pretty simple layout. It's a cute layout, but it's a pretty simple one, yet not, you know, too general, but it does its job, I think. All right, so we ready to cut out our adorable teapot on that? So this one, I used the floral pattern. Let me see what it's on the back of here. Okay, so that's on the back of this house pattern here. So this sheet has this orange flower pattern blender here. Just pull that one out. And same thing, you're just going to want to stick to the corner of the design. And I recommend to make sure your pattern's going the right up and down direction. So not, you know, I mean, I guess it doesn't matter on this, but because you just want to, when you're cutting it out, I would make sure that my 12 inch is intact, but we're only taking a little bit out of it. So like I said, plenty, especially with the designer templates, you'll have, we'll actually use this on the next layout. So that video, I'll share that with you guys so you can kind of finish up this kit and create your second layout. But yeah, so plenty to still even utilize on the next project. So we're going to trace this out. I will say when you get up around this handle, you're going to want to slow down just a little bit because it has a tendency to move as you're tracing. And just kind of go around that kettle part on that. So normally with the designer templates, I recommend just kind of using this as a stencil where we trace this piece out and lay it on top. In this case, I'm actually going to show you guys just like, we're just going to cut this out because it just looks way cuter with this design. Actually cutting that inside out and letting those background colors pop through on their own. So what I'm going to recommend when we do that is to first detach it. So not necessarily cutting out the details, just going up around it. And then before we cut out the outside, I recommend cutting out that middle side because then it keeps your paper just a little bit more sturdy when you're working with it versus we cut out the outside and then cut out the inside. So yeah, so really no fancy things here. I've used X-Acto knives, all of that stuff before, but for me, I just prefer poking it in with my scissors. And what I do often is I just get that opened by snipping around the pieces that I want to cut out. So just a really messy cut. That's it. And then that allows me to get my scissors inside a little bit more easier. And I'm just going to take each little section on its own and just cut that section out. And when needed, you can just kind of adjust your scissors on that. So you can see I stopped that cut. Well, let me snip this out, get it out of the way. And then it allows me to kind of get my scissors in there a little bit easier in that section. So sometimes I don't finish and then I realize, okay, I'm gonna just come up here and do this part. So instead of being focused maybe on, you know, really continuing your cut and seeing it flow, just take piece by piece and move around as needed. And that allows you just to clip each one out a little at a time. So that's kind of how I recommend to do it on that. Okay. Maybe I'll quickly cut another one out so you can kind of see that stencil effect. Like I said, usually when you see pieces like that cut outside of the template, that's when we just recommend using it as like a stencil feature. But with this one, I actually recommend tracing that out of the template or cutting that piece out. And again, you'll see these little, just like the other house, they can become a little bit more sharp in their ridge edges. So this is really where the inking comes in beautifully. Just taking that dauber and it gets right inside of those cracks and kind of just caress to blend them. And I would recommend inking the insides too, kind of when you catch yourself before you cut out the outside even, because again, it just keeps it a little bit more stronger, sturdier, and then the edges is super easy to just kind of quickly cut. Okay, I'm going to come back to it, let you guys keep going. I'm going to try to do another version of where it would look like if you placed a stencil on top. So I'll just cut another one of these out. So when I mean stencil is that in this case, you would trace your base or your outside of the design. And again, whether it's a teapot or sometimes other ones, not all the designer templates have tracings out of it. So really you would just do the outside edge and then you could come in, say with another pattern, see what my options are here. And you would just trace this piece out and then cut it out and add it to the top. So that's why I'm like with the kettle, I feel like it really just works great. Trace it out. But say, well, like the heart, we did it with the heart. Never mind, I know what I was thinking, right? The home, Love at Home, where we then traced the heart out and then layered that on top. So yeah, that would be more like that stencil effect here. Partially, I'm curious to see what it looks like with an inside of that window kettle being different color. I'm going to do it really quickly when you guys are kind of finishing up your cut too. Not. I think it's going to be needed. I don't know. I'm just curious. I'm going to keep going. If anything, I guess I could use this top piece now for my top of my kettle lid, which is really fun. No, doesn't work with the kettle. That's why we don't do it with the kettle. It don't work. But I did cut this piece out actually in the next layout with this kit, kind of like we did with the house. I'm going to show you guys how to dress up your kettle differently. So if you want to do that with this kettle on this layout, you could do a little top to the kettle, right? That you add a fun lid that's a little bit contrast in the pattern. And or you can even add a little heart to it, which where's that one? Oh yeah, you know, you could take the heart from the post or Love at Home and do one over on the middle of that kettle as well. So going back to this one, I'm going to go ahead and now cut out the outside of this kettle. So hopefully that gave everyone a little bit of time to kind of cut out the kettle and play with it yourself as far as how you want to create with that. Perfect. There's a lot of fun ways too that you can really incorporate this kettle and fun designs, but just kind of has a fun warmth feel about it. Something about a kettle, it's so much fun. There we go. All right, so as again on the photo mats, if you are to cutting out your mats at any, so the right side had 2 3.5 by 4.5, and then 1 4.5 by 6.5 on that, and then the left side was 1 4.5 by 4.5 and 1 5.5 by 4.5 on the left. Again, really fun little ways that you can dress up your kettle, make it unique, make it your own, however you want to do that on that kettle. Be cute with a little, I don't know, strip or just different things like that. Actually, here, let me cut this one piece of the kettle. You want to cut that little handle piece, just lay it on top of card. I'm going to do this solid teal color here. And then you can kind of cut that out. So again, just adding little details where you see fit. And with the next layout, you can really dress it up or dress it down as well. So just choosing how you kind of want to play with those kettles and making each one so much fun and unique on each different layout creation that you might do. So I ordered adhesive because I ran out in the last class. So I'm still waiting for my adhesive to show up. So I'm going to have to come back and adhere some of these elements down. Maybe I'll use a glue dot on these pieces so I don't lose the small pieces. Yeah, when we were creating the autumn mini album, I looked at my adhesive and I was like, uh-oh. I ordered all the other stuff to make sure I had it for these classes here at my home, and then forgot to look at my inventory for adhesive. But it's always a good feeling when you know that you're going through adhesive. That means that lots of creating and accomplishing of different projects is happening. And so that's always a good thing. All right. If you guys do something fun with your kettle, you're going to have to share it with me in the community because I would love to see it. See your fun, unique kettles or your fun, unique houses if you choose to kind of dress them up in different ways on your own on those. Okay. Keep forgetting I don't have ink. Keep forgetting our adhesive. And I went to go cut this little piece. And that's not going to work. Okay, guys, so we're going to go ahead and cut out our photo mats. And so for the photo mat sheet, we're going to pull out this white cream pattern. And it has this adorable teal pattern on the back and the white here on the front. Usually when I choose to mat my pictures, I always make sure that I'm kind of doing a contrast to what my background sheet is. So, you know, these two live on kind of a similar spectrum, but it's super cute. So you can decide if you prefer your mats to be that, but I always look at my background sheets to kind of, you know, gauge whether the pattern that I'm going to cut my mats out of is going to clash with my background color, because it's going to lay on right on top of it, right? And so you really don't want those to clash. Sometimes, you know, even when you're like, oh, just I'll throw in a solid orange, but that orange is slightly off, say from the other ones, it can kind of give a little bit of a clash look to it. So, you know, white's always a good option, whether it's white cardstock or whatever. It's always a safer one in some cases, and gives your pictures a nice clean trimming as well. But, you know, again, just kind of thinking about it, and it's not even like it's a rule. It's, of course, no rule there. It's just something to be mindful of that I've noticed that can make a difference. And I've gone through a couple of test and trials on those, of course, but okay, so we're going to pull this out, and I always love to show this because I actually do this more often than maybe, you know, you think, oh, you'll just start cutting out your photo mats. But I really do like to make sure that what I had planned is going to work in relation to the paper that I'm using. And so if you're using the photo mats designer templates, not only are they great for that designing tool, but they also do help you just kind of make the most out of your cuts. And so usually it's just like a paper or puzzle piecing, sorry, that I just kind of play around and see, okay, if I cut these out, like can I, you know, get them all? No, I can't do it that way. Okay, but if I cut it this way and I twist those and I twist this one, then now all of a sudden I can get all of those mats out of this 12 by 12 sheet of paper, right? So sometimes just the order in which we cut them out instead of just start cutting, again, will benefit as far as really getting the most out of that paper. So then at that point, I just kind of mark those corners so that when I go use my paper trimmer, I can remember, okay, I had one go this direction, one go that direction, and kind of using those as that guideline to remind me that where I had them positioned on this sheet of paper to cut them out. So, all right. Well, then at that point, we'll just go ahead and take our paper trimmer and trim them down. So again, I have these little marks. I know that I had one straight down here at 4.5. So right there. And then I have these marks here and here. So one at 4.5, one at 5.5. So that gives me these two pieces over here. Keep that paper. And as far as my 6.5 and my 3.5 by 4.5, those I can do a straight cut here since I have that across. And same thing, I can go down at 4.5, trim that out. Go to 6.5. And then now cut out my two 3.5 by 4.5. Like so. And kind of what I was sharing with you guys before. So with these, especially since they're straight edges all around the whole thing, kind of take your ink pad and just kind of glaze over the edges, just so that it's kind of got cohesiveness. If you inked all the other pieces, it feels that same kind of finished touch as far as that stain feel of the edges go. On that. Okay. And then I always like, again, to get my bearings, kind of situate my design understand the spacing before I start adhering, just kind of reassess the spacing so that as I go adhere these pieces down, I can use each piece to kind of balance or guide me to the next piece. So just kind of placing those back down. So again, the left was a 5.5 by 4.5, a 4.5 by 4.5 on that. And then the left or the right was 2 3.5 by 4.5. And then one 4.5 by 6.5 on that. Right, and then you kind of layer those and cluster how you want it. All right, so as I mentioned, I'm out of adhesive, but I do always like to mention just kind of some thoughts around adhering it down, because I know some people are like, well, if I start picking up, how do I remember what piece goes where? Or, you know, which piece do you start adhering down? And I kind of go back again to that starting point of my borders. So I started with my borders when I started to design. I started with my borders when I started to pick which piece to cut out of the paper first. And then more often than not, the borders are where you can start with adhering down as well, because they're usually towards the bottom layer, right? So in this case, the Sunnybrook is kind of layered here behind this. And so I would simply just slide this out for a moment. And again, when I say get your bearings, it's kind of looking at this. You don't have to have it 100% if the spacing is kind of already assessed here. But you can kind of take a general assessment and say, okay, this is about a 1/2 inch up, or, you know, 3/4 of an inch from the bottom of my paper. And then I would, of course, add some adhesive. I just do a little on the edges and in the middle, and then you would lay that down and adhere it, right? Just kind of getting that bearing. When you do an across design like this, then you definitely want to make sure you're adhering those borders down simultaneously. So then I would probably go to my next border and grab this layer, add some adhesive, and then align those to go across. Even though, you know, in an album, it's not 100% living snug right next to each other. I mean, if you use the post-bound ones, you know, they're a little bit there, but still, you know, you kind of just make sure that those, that you're being, remembering to kind of keep that going. Then the same thing, you would just pick up your next layer, add a little adhesive, and then place that down on your page and so forth on that, each one at a time. So since the tag or the bracket's under the house, then you would do the bracket next, adhere that down, and then layer that house on the top that you want. And then as I'm adding my photos, I mean, if you're using, you know, repositional adhesive or anything, as long as you're not, you know, then you just slide those in, add a little adhesive to the corners, and get this paper up with my fingernails. There we go. And then I just kind of slide and tuck that in. So if you prefer them to be outwards, here, let's see what that looks like. You know, I like that they're kind of snugged, you know, tucked in here, nice and snug, hugging each other. Kind of works for the overall vibe on this layout, just very homey and warm and snugged close together. So that is kind of that process, and I would do that same thing. I'm a little bummed that I don't have the adhesive, because I really want to like feel like, oh, that another layout done. It's always a good feeling. What's on the back of the paper you're cutting your mat top? Okay, so that's the teal pattern. It has this teal blue pattern, and then this one on the front if you're looking for that sheet of paper, like so. Okay. I wondered if you made a run to Hobby Lobby. No, Gwen, I didn't. I did not make a run to Hobby Lobby, unfortunately. So now I'm just gonna leave it on my table. No, I think I ordered it online. I looked at my tracking just from, of course, QLane.com, and I'm in Carolina, they're in Idaho, so the warehouse is, but I think it's supposed to be here tomorrow. So hopefully I'll have it by the Saturday class. So that will be good. We'll be having another class on Saturday, so that will be fun. And we should be having our December classes. We have a few planned, not too many with the holidays and stuff, but we do have a couple fun ornament classes, making some fun ornaments and neighbor gifts, and just really just fun December items that could be great for gift giving or different things. So we hope to get that email. I think the sign up's out next week, so keep an eye out for that. Hopefully we get that all up and going on the website. So more little fun couple classes, and of course we'll kind of ramp back up in the new year in general as well. But you guys believe, like, seriously, 2022, it's right around the corner. Just crazy. It's just crazy. So yeah, perfect, awesome. Love to have you, Paula. Okay, well, this is the first layout. As I promised you guys, I'm going ahead and leave you the link for the second layout, which is this one. Again, following that same process, but you'll be able to go step by step with that video link. So check it out, and then just go down to the layout number 2, and you can watch that video of that recording and follow along to use up the rest of this kit and finish those 2 layouts. And then you'll know you got 2 complete creations done, and that'll be awesome. And then of course, add your pictures and your memories, whatever that might be for you. And if you share it in the community, use hashtag create with Kiwi Lane. The month's coming to end, so we're about to pick a few new winners for the month of November as far as the sharing giveaways go. So each month we pick winners from those that share in the community, your different designs and creations. We love to celebrate those finished creations with you. So make sure to share them in the community and use hashtag createwithkiwilane.com. And if any of you guys have any questions, feel free to let me know. But thank you guys so much. Does anyone have any questions? No? We're all doing good? You guys are great. This is easy peasy. Awesome. So thanks again for joining me tonight. I appreciate it. And we'll hopefully see you guys in the community or at the next class. Thanks, Lori. Thanks, guys. Bye now. Bye, guys. See you later.